My dear brothers and sisters, there comes a time in each of our lives when the burdens we carry become too heavy for our backs to bear. When we've prayed all night and wept at dawn. When we've tried and tried, and still the door will not open. That is the moment, yes, that very moment, when you must unclench your fists, loosen your grip, and leave everything in God's hand. Oh yes, you heard me. Leave the hurt in His hand. Leave the betrayal in His hand. Leave the unanswered questions and the unopened doors, the silent phone calls and the unspoken apologies. Place them gently, lovingly into His hands. Because what you cannot fix, He can heal. What you cannot carry, He can lift. And what you cannot see, God has already foreseen. We often live as if we are the architects of the universe, trying to hammer hope into place and force peace where pain still lingers. But child, you did not create the stars. You need not control the storm. When the winds of life howl at your doorstep, don't fight them with fear. Don't wrestle with the unknown. Stand still. Be silent. Trust. And leave everything in God's hand. You see, God does not sleep nor slumber. His hand is never weary. His heart never forgets. When you think He's doing nothing, He's preparing everything. In your waiting, He's working. In your silence, He's speaking. In your surrender, He is shaping. You are molding your soul for greater things than you could ever ask or imagine. I know what it is to cry and feel no comfort. I know what it is to ask and receive no answer. But I also know what it is to trust God with trembling hands and find peace in the eye of the storm. Oh, I've learned, yes, I have, that faith is not about controlling the outcome. It is about surrendering to the one who already knows how the story ends. So go ahead. Let go. Let go of the pain. Let go of the need to control. Let go of the lie that says you must carry it all alone. And in your letting go, you will rise. You will rise like morning sun, steadfast and sure. You will rise like a tree planted by rivers of living water. You will rise, not because of your strength, but because of His. Leave everything in God's hand and watch Him turn ashes into beauty, mourning into dancing, and brokenness into blessing. And when He does, you'll look back and smile through the tears. You'll laugh again through the lessons. And you'll whisper, God's hand never failed me, not once. So walk on, beloved. Lift your chin, steady your soul, let your heart find its rest. And remember always, leave everything in God's hand. There is a lie that's been passed down from generation to generation, a whisper tucked into our bones, taught by the world but never by the Spirit. It says that strength is in the struggle, that the louder you roar, the stronger you are, that to be powerful you must always fight, always fix, always figure it out on your own. But oh, beloved, how wrong they were, how tragically wrong. For I have lived long enough to tell you true strength is not always in the holding on, but in the letting go. There is power in the surrender. There is courage in the stillness. There is might in the humble act of saying, Lord, I cannot do this by myself. That is not weakness. That is wisdom. The world may never understand it. The world may look at bowed heads and call them broken. It may look at folded hands and call them fearful, and may see tears and label them as defeat. But God, my dear, God looks at that same bowed head and calls it beautiful. God looks at that surrender and sees trust. And trust, oh yes, trust is stronger than pride. I remember nights when I laid my burdens beside my bed, too weary to speak, too tired to pray the right words. I had nothing but a whisper left, nothing but a trembling breath. God, I give it to you. And in that moment, child, I was not weak. I was being cradled by a force far stronger than I'd ever known. I was held by grace. You see, when you surrender to God, you're not laying down in defeat. You are standing up in faith. When you say, I cannot, what you're really doing is making space for the one who always can. You're saying, Lord, you take it. My hands are too small, my vision too clouded, my heart too heavy. But your hands, they hold the universe. Your eyes see the end from the beginning. Your heart knows how to love me back to life. There is a peculiar peace that enters your spirit when you finally hand it all over to God. Not halfway, not a portion, but all of it. The worry, the pride, the need to understand, the control that was never yours to begin with. When you surrender completely, you walk lighter. You sleep deeper. You smile more honestly, because you no longer carry what was never meant for you to bear. And let us not forget, the greatest strength ever shown was not on a battlefield or behind a pulpit. It was on a cross. It was in a Savior who could have called down angels but chose to surrender instead. Surrendered to the will of the Father. Surrendered to the plan of love. Surrendered not because he was weak, but because his strength was found in obedience. That is power. That is greatness. That is our example. Now you too must learn the beauty of surrender. Stop measuring your strength by how loud you can shout or how long you can suffer in silence. Measure it by how quickly you can release. Measure it by how gently you can trust. Strength is not always a clenched fist. It is often an open hand, an open heart, a whispered prayer. And hear me when I say this. It takes more strength to trust God with your pain than it does to pretend you're not hurting. It takes more strength to let go of what's killing you than to hold on and prove a point. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is stop, sit still, and say, Lord, I surrender. I know you've been taught to push through. I know the world has told you to hustle, to grind, to always be strong. But strength without rest is exhaustion. Strength without surrender is pride. And pride, my love, will have you fighting battles you were never meant to fight. There is honor in submission, not to the world, not to fear, but to God. And when you place your life in his hands, when you trade your burden for his peace, you will find a new kind of power, a deeper kind of joy, a holy kind of strength. So the next time the world calls you weak for trusting God, you look them square in the eye and say, I am not weak. I am wise. I am not broken. I am becoming. I am not lost. I have let go, because there is no defeat in surrendering to the one who already holds the victory. There is something sacred about the stillness. Though the world may rush past you and the noise of expectation may ring in your ears, there is a hush, a holy quiet that rests in the waiting. But oh, how uncomfortable it is for the human heart. We are creatures of movement, of action, of the now. We ache for answers, hunger for results, and thirst for resolution. But God does not rush. God is not pressed for time. God works in the waiting. Now, don't mistake the silence of God for the absence of God. No, child. Heaven is not sleeping just because the thunder has quieted. The potter is still shaping, even when the clay sees no motion. And the seed is still growing, even in the dark, even beneath the soil, even when nothing breaks through the surface. Patience, my dear, is not punishment. It is preparation. I've lived long enough to know that some of God's finest miracles were born in the still places. When I thought he had forgotten me, when I thought the page of my life had turned blank, he was writing chapters I hadn't dared to imagine. While I wept with worry, he was weaving my deliverance. While I sat alone, wondering if my prayers had hit the ceiling, God was behind the curtain, setting the stage. You see, the waiting is not wasted. No. The waiting is where you grow. It's where you are refined, redefined, recentered. The waiting is where God does his most intimate work, mending your soul, smoothing your rough edges, and teaching you how to trust when there's nothing left to hold but hope. So many people want the blessing, but they don't want the silence that comes before it. They want the promise, but they don't want the process. They want the crown, but they don't want the cross. But child, let me tell you something. There is no glory without a garden, and every garden begins with darkness. Just ask the seed. Ask it how it feels to be buried beneath the weight of the earth, covered in cold, unseen by the sun. And yet it rises. Not because it was forced to bloom, but because it was prepared to. I've come to realize that when God tells you to wait, it is not a rejection. It's a redirection. It's him saying, I love you too much to give you what you're not ready to receive. And isn't that beautiful? Isn't that divine? That the same God who could snap his fingers and bring it all to pass chooses instead to build you in the silence. He doesn't want you to simply reach the promise. He wants you to be strong enough to stand inside it. So let them talk. Let them wonder where you went. Let them ask why your life seems paused. Smile and stay silent. Because while they see delay, you know that God is doing something deeper. You know that he's not just fixing the situation. He's fixing you. And let me speak to your aching heart. Yes, you, the one tired of praying, tired of hoping, tired of believing. I see you. God sees you. You are not invisible. You are not forgotten. You are not foolish for holding on when everything else says, let go. Keep waiting. Keep trusting. Because God is not a man that he should lie. If he said he would do it, he will. Not in your time, but in divine time. And when it comes, it will not be late. It will be right on time. In the meantime, grow, breathe. Breathe in the truth that God is not still because he's stuck. He is still because he is strategic. He is preparing your path, preparing hearts, moving mountains you cannot see, and calming seas that haven't yet risen. And when the time is right, when your soul has been strengthened and your faith stretched wide, the doors will open effortlessly. What once was hard will become holy. What once made you cry will make you sing. And all of heaven will echo the words, well done, my child. You waited well. So walk on, even if you walk slowly, even if your steps are small. Keep walking. Keep watching. Keep whispering prayers in the night season. Because God is listening. God is moving. And God, oh yes, God is working in the waiting. We live in a world that praises planners, applauds self-made men, and worships at the altar of personal control. Oh yes, we are taught from a tender age to map our steps, plot our path, and build our futures brick by careful brick. But sooner or later, life reminds us, sometimes gently, sometimes like a thunderclap across the sky, that we are not the architects of everything. You may draw the blueprints, my dear, but it is God who lays the foundation. You may design the house, but only God knows how to make it a home. You may plan the day, the month, the year, but only God knows what the morning holds. And I don't say that to frighten you. I say that to free you. Because there is a beautiful, holy relief in realizing that you are not in control of it all. That you don't have to carry the whole weight of the world on your back. That you were never meant to build a life by yourself. The creator of stars, the author of time, the one who carved rivers into mountainsides, he is the master builder. And when you finally take your hands off the wheel, when you step aside and let God draw the lines, you'll see how crooked yours really were. I've watched people spend years, decades, trying to force open doors that were never meant for them, chasing dreams that were never breathed by God. I've done it myself. I've cried over blueprints that crumbled. I've knelt on floors made from my own pride only to feel them crack beneath me. And in the ruins I heard the whisper of heaven, let me build it. Let me show you what I can do when you move aside. You see, there's a divine order to all things, a rhythm to the universe that does not skip a beat. You may not see it, but it is there. You may not understand it, but it moves through you like breath. And when you trust that rhythm, when you surrender to its timing and release your grip on needing to know, needing to do, needing to be the source, you find a new kind of peace. The tree doesn't worry about the weather, it stretches toward the sun. The river doesn't question the curve of the land, it flows where it is led. And you, dear soul, you are not created to orchestrate every moment of your life. You were created to follow, to trust, to build with God, not apart from Him. Somewhere along the way, we confuse independence with isolation. We learn to equate faith with formulas and success with self-reliance, but faith, true faith, is not controlling every outcome. It's walking with your hands open, saying, God, I don't know what you're doing, but I know you do. That is not weakness, that is wisdom. That is the deep, unshakable knowing that God has the whole story while you only hold a page. And hear me now, sometimes God will tear down what you built just to show you what He's been building all along. It may hurt. It may confuse you. You may find yourself staring at rubble, wondering why the walls came down. But child, walls were never meant to keep you from the storm. They were meant to lead you to the rock that cannot be shaken, the rock of His truth, His mercy, His design. So let go of the need to control every detail. Release the pressure to have it all figured out. Surrender the illusion that your plans are always better. They may be good, but God's are greater. They may be smart, but His are sovereign. Let Him lead, let Him design, let Him show you the masterpiece He's creating from the pieces you can't yet understand. And when people come around and ask you, how did you get here? How did you survive the storm? How did you rise from the ashes? You'll smile with a quiet strength and say, I stopped trying to be the architect. Handed the plans to God. Oh yes, my friend, you are not the architect of everything. And thank God for that, because His hands are steadier than yours. His vision is clearer. His timing is perfect. And His love, His deep, endless, everlasting love, is building something in you far greater than you ever imagined. Let Him build. Let Him guide. Let Him show you that what He builds never falls, never fades, never fails. Peace does not come dressed in thunder. It does not roar down the highway of life demanding attention. Peace is not noise. It is a stillness, a sacred hush, a breath of heaven in the middle of chaos. And peace, my dear, does not arrive when the storm ends. It arrives when you let go. Now, letting go is not easy. Oh, no. It is one of the most courageous acts a soul can perform. We hold on because we believe we must. We grip tight to the past, to our pain, to the plans we made and the people we lost. We hold on to dreams that never came true, to words we should have said, to the bitterness of being hurt and the fear of being forgotten. We hold on because somewhere inside we think that if we release it, we lose control. But let me tell you, there is freedom in release. I've known people who wore their burdens like coats, heavy and worn, draped over their shoulders with pride, and I've been one of them. I've carried worry like a badge, grief like a second skin. But I've also felt the miracle of loosening my grip, of lifting my hands and saying, Lord, I don't know how to fix this. I don't know what tomorrow holds, but I trust you with what I cannot carry. And in that moment, peace walked in. You see, peace doesn't require the absence of trouble. It only requires the presence of trust. Not in yourself, not in your own ability to control the outcome, but in the one who holds the outcome in His holy hands. Letting go does not mean giving up. It means giving over. Giving your plans, your pain, your questions, your heartbreak to a God who sees all and forgets none. Some of us are walking around exhausted, not because we're weak, but because we're holding things God never asked us to hold. You were not designed to carry every burden. You were not built to fix every broken piece. That is why His word says, Cast your cares upon him, not some of them, not the easy ones, all of them. So why do we resist? Why do we clutch so tightly to the things that steal our joy? Maybe because we think surrender means defeat. But child, surrender is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is the understanding that God's hands are bigger than ours, that his thoughts are higher, his love deeper, his ways better. To let go is to say, I believe you can do more with this than I ever could. Letting go might mean forgiving someone who never said sorry. It might mean closing the door on a season you desperately wanted to last. It might mean trusting that what you lost was not punishment, but protection. Sometimes God removes what you cling to so he can replace it with what you need. But you'll never receive what's next while your fists are full of yesterday. There's beauty in loosening your grip, in opening your hands to heaven and saying, have your way. There's beauty in deciding to no longer be the warden of your own prison. Bitterness, resentment, shame, regret, those are the jailers. And your key to freedom is release. Peace, real peace, comes when you walk out of that cell and into the sunlight of surrender. And don't let anybody tell you it's a one-time thing. No, my dear, letting go is daily work. It's waking up each morning and choosing trust over worry, faith over fear, release over resistance. It's whispering to your weary soul, God's got this, God's got me, and meaning it. Now, some may say, but Maya, how do I let go of something that broke me? And I say to you, you let go, not because it didn't matter, but because it mattered too much to let it ruin you. You let go because your soul was not meant to live in pieces. You let go because God is trying to place healing in your hands, but first you must make room. Peace is waiting on the other side of release. It is not found in answers, but in assurance. It is not found in having everything figured out, but in knowing that you are not alone. That there is a God who walks beside you, who fights for you, who speaks calm to your chaos. So today, choose peace. Choose to loosen your grip on what you cannot change. Choose to stop rehearsing old wounds and start receiving new wisdom. Choose to believe that your life is not out of control. It is in the hands of the Almighty. And there, my child, is the safest place of all. There comes a time in every soul journey where faith is no longer a choice. It is a necessity. Life, with all her twists and turns, will back you into a corner. She will ask questions for which you have no answers, paint pictures with no patterns, and lay burdens you never imagined bearing. And in those times, when your feet are weary and your heart is heavy, all you can do is trust God's plan. Now, trusting the plan of an invisible God in the middle of visible storms takes courage. It takes more than just quoting scripture and singing hymns on Sunday morning. It takes a raw, trembling, beautiful kind of faith. The kind that whispers yes, even when everything in you is screaming why. There are moments when God's plan feels like confusion wrapped in mystery. You ask, Lord, how could this be your way? Child, listen to me. God's silence does not mean God is absent. No, sometimes he is simply still, like a potter at the wheel, shaping, pressing, molding you with holy hands. And if you stay on the wheel long enough, you'll see what he was making all along. We love to talk about trusting God when things are going well, when the bills are paid, the doors are opening, and the sun is shining. But true trust shows its face in the dark. Like a rose in a barren land. Trust is what you hold on to when the job is lost, the diagnosis comes, the friend walks away. Trust says, even now I will believe. Trust declares, even this, Lord, is in your hands. God's plan is not always wrapped in pretty paper. It doesn't always come with clear directions or explanations. Sometimes his plan comes disguised as delay. Sometimes it wears the clothes of disappointment. Sometimes it walks in dressed as heartbreak. But don't be fooled, beloved. There is always purpose in the pain. always design in the detour. You may not see it now, but the thread of his intention is being woven through the fabric of your life. I remember a time I thought God had forgotten me. A time when every step forward felt like 5 steps back. I cried out, "Lord, if this is your plan, I don't want it." But he did not change the plan to suit my comfort. He changed me to fit his purpose. That's the beauty of his design. He does not simply change your circumstances. He transforms you in the middle of them. And when you finally stand at the end of that hard season, you'll see it like sunlight breaking through the trees. You'll see how every tear watered something sacred. How every no made room for a better yes. How every closed door protected you from what you couldn't see. Oh, you'll weep again, but not from sorrow. From gratitude. From awe, because you'll know that God's plan was better than your own. The human mind wants to understand everything. We want the schedule, the roadmap, the promise in print. But faith isn't built on explanation. It's built on expectation, and the expectation we hold is this, that God is good even when life is not, that God is working even when we see no signs. He has never abandoned a soul that placed their trust in him. And he won't start with you. You may feel like you're walking through the wilderness right now. You may feel forgotten, lost, undone. But I assure you this is not the end of your story. God is still writing.